Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the antonym panel discussion on our front and center theme. Today's theme is Dreams and Nightmare on a Razor's Edge, focusing on literary work on the theme of refugee literature. And basically, it's built on the experiences of bereavement and belonging that refugees crave and experience, and how that shows up in their literary work. I'll be moderating the session today. It's with extreme honor. My name is Indrani. I'm Indrani Roy. I live in the Greater Toronto area in Canada. I work in the technology sector as a marketing professional, but I used to be a student of literature. And when I heard about what Antonym is trying to do, I felt a personal passion. When I say a student of literature, I did my bachelor's and I did my master's, but primarily my curriculum was shaped by British literature, English literature. So I felt a passion to bring global voices, more diversity in the works of literature for the next generation, because that is so important and really a miss. It's a miss in the world of literature. So I'm extremely honored and humbled to be here with authors who represent that diversity. So a little bit more about Antonym. Antonym is an online literary magazine that wants to create a globally aware literary space and wants to lend a voice to experiences and expressions of diverse cultures. So the Antonym Front and Center, the series, looks at literary themes of importance and holds focused conversations on those themes. And today our focus is on refugee literature. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce the two panelists here with me today. So my first panelist is Nazli Karabiyikoglu, author and activist living in Germany. Nazli is a writer in exile who left her country, Turkey, because she protested against the government, standing up for the LGBTQ1A+ community and feminism. Essentially, Nazli raised her country to be who she is and continues to inspire a lot of us. So welcome, Nazli.
Hello.
The other panelist who's with me right now is Swapnomoy Chakraborty. He is an eminent Bengali writer based in India. His much awarded novel, hello Swapnomoy. His much awarded novel, Holud Golap, which can be translated to Yellow Rose, is a seminal monumental work about the LGBTQ community and its relationship with the larger society. So while Swapnomoy was born in India, his ancestors were from Bangladesh. And Swapnomoy has built a reputation for never writing about the same thing twice, but I will be asking him later on today why he revisited the refugee theme more than once. And his recent work, Joler Upor Pani, in Bengali, it chronicles the refugee experience as well. So welcome, Swapnomoy.
Thank you.
So I will get this launched, the discussion launched with our first question. So what is very interesting about both of you here, the refugee experience connects you both. And yet it's also very different in your case. Nazli, in your case, I would only speculate the experience is more raw, authentic, direct. You left your country. For Swapnomoy, it's very interesting. You sought out your refugee route. You gave a lot to your collective memory, so to say, and to pull from that. So it's all very interesting that you both have this connection, yet it's different. So my first question is, what are your individual takes on the subject matter of your identity of being a refugee? And how does this show up in your literary expression? So I'll start with Nazli. Maybe you can launch this with your take, and then I'll move to Swapnomoy.
Yes. Well, it's like before coming to Germany, I lived in Georgia, in a Caucasian country, and most of the time I feel like I'm on the road and I don't have a permanent home, and it gives me the feeling of rootlessness. And sometimes it's hard, but sometimes it is okay because I'm writing my novels, I'm writing many different genres, and sometimes I feel like this rootlessness just come to me as some kind of inspiration. So I like being the refugee, because I like the idea that I'm always traveling all around the world, so I have cultures, very different cultures other than mine. So, and this, I have this reflection in my fiction, especially with the multi languages, you know. So I am so happy that I can use German, Turkish, Georgian, Russian, Spanish, Portuguese in my, I'm writing in Turkish, but I like this multi-language style. So, and for the experience part, I think it gave me a really big experience and really interesting experience, because as a writer, I believe that if I don't try something, then I can write about it easily. It's my style. I don't know. So when traveling or moving from one country to another, I always feel like I'm experiencing something new, and I'm feeling like maybe there is no home for me on this earth, and I'm not scared of this idea, honestly. So yeah, I think being a refugee, being an immigrant, being an exile, just they are shaping my fiction. So what can I cannot complain now, because I choose this way. It was my decision.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. I do have a follow-up question, but I'll hold off. I'll see how Swapnomoy answers my first question, and then I have a follow-up question on this, Nazli. Thank you for that. Swapnomoy?
Yeah. A little correction, Indrani. I am exiled from not Bangladesh. Previously, it was Pakistan. In 1947, India has been divided to different nations, India and Pakistan. And this division was unfortunately based on the religion. And so many memories I have. And one thing is this, you have asked why I have written this chapter again, this subject again. Yes, my first novel was Chatushpati. It was on refugee subject mainly, but I am elaborating this. Just I am elaborating because the load of all my memoirs lay upon me and pressing hard, and I eulogize, I compel to write. This was happening.
Thank you so much. That was really enlightening. I do have a couple of other follow-up questions, but let me start by asking about memory, because that's a good segue to what you were saying, Swapnomoy. And I'll ask this to Nazli. So memory plays an intrinsic role, right, in how individuals and societies construct their identity. I'm not a refugee, but as an immigrant, I too am constantly dipping in my memory. And who knows what role nostalgia is playing in how I remember the country I left behind. So when we consider memory shaped by immigration, exile, expulsion, and war, it all leaves its own individual watermark, but it leaves a watermark, right, on both our individual and collective memory. So Nazli, can you expand on that a little bit from your perspective, how the memory of your country continues to shape your literary work?
When I realized that the social memory is constructed by governments, by societies, it was just after the coup attempt in Turkey, in Istanbul, in 2016. So after this coup attempt, I surprisingly saw that the social memory was constructed in front of my eyes, like the current government and the Erdogan regime was constructing something that is not true. It was like an artificial memory. So when I was aware of this, I just saw that yes, memory is constructed, because after this coup attempt in Turkey, everything, the behaviors of the society, the, I don't know, the culture has changed, and this change was just because of this construction, because the government said that okay, we are very strong people, blah blah, we have this in our history with the Ottoman Empire. So their supporters, okay, yeah, they are saying this, so this is true. So they just create the artificial social memory. And on the other side, I believe that I'm living in the collective memory of the ancient women and ancient LGBTQ people in the world that who lived in this world, in this earth. So and this collective and individual memory, just they're affecting each other. And with the moving, as you move around the world, you just discover new possibilities in that collective memory. For example, I can discover something that I didn't experience in my culture ever, but when I go to, I don't know, when I go to Nepal, or when I'm in Himalayas, I just discovered that, oh, this was in my memory, but I didn't experience this. So I think this is the perfect bond with being an immigrant, being a refugee, and with social memory. You can see the construction, and you can construct your own memory. Of course, I think the worst part of the memory is the romanticizing and this nostalgia, romanticizing. But I think we can all find different cultures related with our personalities as we travel.
That just really spoke to me. I think the one thing I would love to just highlight what he said about the coup in 2016 is, you know, I think we've all been young, or even not young, we've all passed through life, and we have somewhere in our mind, we've tucked away a narrative that was constructed, not by us, but by society, the social memory that you talk about. And we kind of fall, don't want to say it lightly, but you fall for it. You, somewhere in your brain that's tucked away, and then you move away from it, and that was a narrative created. I mean, in recent years, we've, a part of it, we call it fake news or whatever you want to say, but it is similar, right? How we are part of that social memory, and then we have our collective memory, and then we have our individual memory. I mean, it's fascinating. But thank you so much, Nazli, for that. That was really, really wonderful. Thank you. Swapnomoy, do you have more to elaborate on the memory aspect?
Yes, I support Nazil, what she said. That is better memory, but memory is decaying. Memory is an abstract thing, and like naphthalene, like camphor, slowly it is decaying. It cannot stay 200 years or 300 years. Yes, myth or story or folklore, these are the steady thing. It can propagate this generation to that generation. But some memories are there. After my grandfather's death, his grandfather's personal memory has gone. After my mother's or my father's exile, their memory has gone. But some memories, examine our menu, our menu, our daily food, our daily food habit, one sociologist will discover there is social memory in our food habit. Some proverbs and chants and songs. Just after my grandfather's death, it has been lost. But few of that rhymes, folk rhymes, doggerel words, these are still in my memory, and I tried to put in my novel these all memories and all chants and all rhymes, etc., etc.
That is very, very interesting. I like how you brought in, the day-to-day things we're still doing that we're pulling from the memories of our ancestors. So that's thank you for that, Swapnomoy. We will have to wrap up the panel in 5 minutes. So I'm concluding my questions here. So one of my final questions, and I'll point this at Nazli, is that, I have seen this in some other refugee, literary people talk about, is there really a point in trying to reach the people who are already interested in the topic? People like me, I'm just naturally interested in immigrant stories, exile stories. So how do you shift perception broadly? How do you shift other people who may not naturally be inclined to read your work, may not naturally be inclined to learn more about you? How do you think that shift can happen?
Yeah, this is a good question. For me, I'm writing in Turkish. I'm insisting on writing in Turkish because Turkish is my mother tongue. But I, of course, support the translations into English, German, French, Spanish. So in this sense, for me, this is so personal. Of course, I'm writing some kind of immigrant or some kind of exile stories, built up characters, living in this narrative system. But if I want to be read all around the world, then I have to construct my fiction upon universal catching points. So, for example, I can tell about a Turkish woman, but if I do this in a universal sense, so I don't know, the common feelings, and every culture has some common points with the interesting parts of the cultures. So I'm just trying to find my way in this collective memory, honestly. So of course, immigrant or exile literature, they are not maybe they are not as popular as the American or English lit, but now the world is changing. Like, people immigrate so fast. Mm-hmm. People immigrate so fast. Yeah, we know that from the history. People were immigrating for food, for shelter in the ancient times. But now it is more like people want to live a good life. They want a good life. They want to be paid. They want holidays. They want social rights. So they immigrate. Just this week, hundreds of Afghan people, they immigrate to Turkey in illegal ways. Before that, there was a war in Syria, and there is a mass immigration from Africa to USA. But why are this happening? I think we should ask ourselves this question, because okay, literature, but have you ever been think of as a white male human being? Have you ever think that why an African immigrating to USA, or why a Mexican wants to immigrate to USA, or why I am in Germany now? Because I cannot live healthy in my country. I cannot buy the food I want with my Turkish money, but here I can buy the food that I want. So it's like if the governments, if the countries, if these political systems do not give people the wealth on social rights, then people immigrate. So you cannot stop the immigration stories. So they will arise, I think. And now they are creating their own market. When I look in the USA or English lit market, I can see that now most of the writers are people of color. And wow, I think this is huge. So maybe the people in the market, they should take their actions concerning this point.
Yeah, you make some really, really great points. And I know that we have to wrap up very soon, but Nazli, this is just a final question for you. So when because I think it's a good segue. When you leave a country, and a country, as Turkey, with all its problems, as you've outlined, is still a country that's so rich in culture and heritage. Swapnomoy touched on it, right? Like the food habits and, all of it, the culture. So how does that Turkish culture manifest in your work? I know you've left a lot of it behind and you write in the language, but what aspects of the cultural heritage are you still carrying with you, if any?
Actually, when we are talking about the Turkish or Anatolian culture, we have to think about two different aspects mainly. So there is one old Turkish culture, which came from Central Asia, and there's an Islamist Turkish culture, which was later on than this ancient Turkish culture. So honestly, I'm not a fan of the Islamic practices, but I like my roots. So I also try to discover my own roots, ethnical roots. So I found myself in the very center of the Asia, near Mongolia. So I am carrying this ancient Turkish culture with me. Especially in my writing, in my fiction, with shamanist practices. So, and I wrote a book about this old ancient Turkish shamanist practices, but it's not translated or it's not published yet in USA or in Canada. This is the I find myself in this collective memory of old Turkish, old shamanic culture, because old Turkish shamanic culture gives women, especially, a very strong power. If you're a shaman, then you are the queen, So, yeah, so I really like it. So I think, yes, I want to carry it with me forever.
I'm so glad I asked you that question. I really learned something. And isn't it interesting how some of that just gets diluted along the way, right? Like if you go back to way back, you realize that, wow, the woman was, a force to reckon with in the original culture, and then something comes along and so many other things happen. The power struggles happen, and this happens, that happens, and we land somewhere, right? And this was really fascinating. So thank you, Nazli. Swapnomoy, if you have any concluding thoughts, I'd love to hear.
Yeah. Before concluding, I will share with you two of my very loving experience. I have collected some very old letters. These are, you see, very old letters, and this is 1953 envelope of Pakistan, undivided Pakistan, 1953 letters. There are two persons. One was Jabbor Mia, Muslim, another was Hindu. Both of them bargaining for a piece of land, what has been left by some person, some refugee. They left their land, but they are not occupying forcefully. Their intention is they will purchase this piece of land, but two people, one Hindu and another Muslim, they are they writes letter, but strange is this, handwriting is same handwriting of different person, two different person, but same handwriting. How comes? How it happens? Because there was no literate person at that time. Most literate person were Hindus, and they left here, they're in India, Exodus. So one people, so he may be Muslim or maybe Hindu, one people, he is sitting on the side of a post office and he is writing on behalf of X, on behalf of Y, on behalf of Z. But ethics is this, they will not disclose the content of this letter, because this content of the letter is very personal, and that person will not disclose to his rival. 2 or 3 rivals, they are writing letter through a person, but ethics is there. And moreover, ultimately that land was purchased by Jabbar Mian, and grandson of that Jabbar Mian once came to that old landlord. He came in Calcutta for his own personal treatment, and he brought some mango for that family. Still, it is still in his mind. After 74 years, the grandson of that old person, but because this is hereditating, and this is humanity, and this is ethics, and this is still alive, and this is our hope, and we are living for these only, for this good thing. I have seen this good thing. I've experienced.
Wow, that was very powerful. And I think it's a perfect way to end this session, how you just summarized it, Swapnomoy. Thank you so much for that. This has been a really enlightening session, and we hope our next one will feature even more panelists and we'll have an even broader conversation. But again, I appreciate your time. Thank you so much. Thank you to Nazli. And hopefully we'll continue this conversation. It's an important conversation. Thank you. Thank you very much.